Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. And here we have a very good, very well researched author, a good friend of mine. We are going to talk about divinity, feminism, temple, church, the differences, just the basic concept. This is going to be a series, and we're going to cover different aspects on these topics. So without delay, let us welcome Shri Nithin Sridhar. Namaskar, Nitin ji.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Nitinji, it's a the world is filled with misconceptions instead of correct conceptions. So we're going to talk about multiple topics. First of all, we'll touch with the divinity because in the Western hemisphere, and you can see the divinity is only ascribed to a man amongst the humans, and the old man lifting the earth, which is Hercules, and which is again an imaginary concept coming from somewhere. And then, so why is that? We can start with that, and then we can cover other points.
Uh, I think if we go through the history in the West to a pre-Abrahamic history, then you would see that in be it ancient Greece, Greek civilization, Roman civilization, or Egyptian civilization, all those civilization had both male divinity and female divine conceptions. I mean, for example, when I did my study on the menstruation practices across the world, I realized that there are deities, female deities associated with menstruation across these ancient civilizations. The Greeks had Artemis, the Romans had Diana, similar, the Egyptians, Mesopotamians, the Mesopotamians had Inanna. So we have this female divine presence in all polytheistic civilizations, polytheistic cultures across the world, and this was so in the West as well. And today, though technically speaking, we cannot define Hindu Dharma or Sanatana Dharma as either monotheism or polytheism or monism or any other modern categories per se. But in some sense, I think polytheism perhaps is perhaps a better description than other categories if we have to describe. And being an ancient civilization, we have retained this reverence to and an understanding of male and female principle. See, in the case of divinities, the ultimate reality is neither male or nor female. The ultimate reality is beyond all descriptions, beyond all words, beyond all genders, beyond everything that our mind can think about or capture about. However, the same divinity is manifest to us in different forms, different names, and different aspects. And it is this manifestation that we have understood through these opposite principles, the male and female, Purusha and Prakriti, Shiva, Shakti. Similarly, in the ancient Western civilizations, we find all these male deities and female deities, etc. However, it is, I think, with basically the Abrahamic religions, that the concept of only one God, the concept of one God who is perceived as a father, as a male deity, that tradition starts, and it slowly spreads across because of the dissemination and because of the complete destruction of the polytheistic traditions in the West. The monotheism, which is basically which lacks a feminine divinity, feminine aspect of divinity, came to predominate in the West, and that has not happened in India, despite 1,000 years of Islamic invasions, followed by the European colonialism, which was accompanied by Christian evangelism, etc. Still, we have the Hindu civilization has managed to retain our core, our essence, our practices, and our philosophy intact, and hence we see that we are one of the only civilizations, one of the few civilizations that have retained this understanding of divine, not just in a masculine fatherly sense, but also in a feminine motherly sense, which we call as Shakti.
Many times the concept of monotheism and has resulted in great human rights violation in a big way. So like monotheism has also gone to, like, talking about monotheism better than pantheism, always there is a comparison, or polytheism, or many other theisms they've put out there. And we can see that monotheistic cultures have resulted in the worst exclusivity concepts for themselves, and there is a significant human rights violation. Like in, I can tell you, within US itself, in 90s, and there were smaller sects in Texas, and they used the gases against their own people, just a different version of Christianity. And the Roman Catholic, or I don't know, Roman Catholics, if you just look at it from the religious point of view, may not be right, but like as an analyst, you can always look at that in a different angle, from a different angle. That if someone has a different opposing point of view, then they can go to any extent. Now, those kind of gases are even banned under Vienna Convention, but there were tanks used against them. There were military, personal armored personal carriers were used against them. Gases were they were gassed out. So not just Hitler did it, but there is a democratic American government also did it against their own people. And we have seen the history that in what happened in Yemen, what happened in other places. All these are between monotheistic cultures within themselves. So do you think the tolerance level goes down when you talk about monotheism versus pantheism or polytheism or something like that?
Yeah, I think uh, a fundamental issue with monotheism, or how the Abrahamic religions um, approach the world, approach the issues, is itself kind of is exclusive, is based in exclusivity. Is by the very definition is exclusive, but at the same time they also uh, lay claim to a monopoly on truth and reality, and this claim is a kind of a universal claim. So this results in not only intolerance but also non-accommodation, non-accepting of others. That is the problem. See, even in India, if in the multiple traditions of Sanatan Dharma, we have certain communities, certain sects, certain traditions which consider one aspect of divinity or one deity as supreme. We have Vaishnavas consider Vishnu as supreme. We have Shaivas consider Shiva as supreme. But here, that has not translated in the kind of exclusivity and intolerance that we see in the Western history, in the history related to Christianity, especially because here we have a realization that there are different paths to the ultimate reality, different paths to the top of the mountain, and what we consider what is correct for us may not be for others. We may not like the other path, we may not agree with the other path, but we will not go to the extent that we will say to the other person that they do not have a right to exist, they do not have a right to follow their path. So this is a fundamental thing, that is part of Indian philosophical vision, Vedantic vision, you can say, to put in words of Swami Vivekananda. So this there is a fundamental difference in how monotheistic cultures think and approach the various issues, and how civilization like a Hindu civilization approach issues. And I think the twains do not meet here. No matter what we try, it cannot meet here. There is no meeting point between the two.
So another aspect which is very common is the feministic concept is missing. And do you think the empathy goes away? Because sometimes it's a natural question. Women are more empathetic than men by design, or something you can say that by nature they are more softer. And so when you only see Shaktiman and don't see the Shakti, then there is a problem. Because you know so the macho man becomes, so nowadays the movies have done something really amazing. So most of they show big body men, but then they show the feminine side of theirs, feelings, and softer. This is a confused man now. So what is your view on that?
See, at least the mainstream trend of feminism, as I see it, in the name of gender equality, what it has promoted is basically masculinization of women and feminization of men, which, at least in my understanding, is not at all healthy. Uh, so basically, it kind of want men and women to uh, wipe away their own inner essence, so to speak. See, it is not, see, though at a in Hindu Dharma, for example, at a paramarthika or at a transcendental level, everyone is a jiva, everyone is a atma. They are all basically same reality. They're part of the same Brahman. They are in fact non-different from Brahman. However, at a transactional level, there are differences. The differences are real. It is not that we can simply wipe away those differences using categories, using words and discourses, etc. Gender is one such difference. For example, a man is always a father to their kid, to the children. A man cannot be a mother, and a woman cannot be a father. See, there are fundamental differences in how, see, I recently had a child, and I can say this from experience, that how I approach my child naturally is something different from how my wife approaches our child. So these differences are real, and both are important. See, that is the issue. We need to, instead of feminizing men and masculinizing women, what we need to really discover is the essence of masculinity and essence of femininity. And unfortunately today, the everything has been completely mixed up and completely confused. The masculinity has been branded as toxicity, and femininity has been kind of sidelined as something that needs to be overcome. See, when I was doing this research on menstruation for this my book, Menstruation Across Cultures, I came upon research which shows that how the very products of sanitary products has names such as freedom, stay free, etc. in India and USA and other places, which kind of wants women to get rid of or overcome or their menstrual process. But menstruation is one of those processes which are very core of womanhood, which is something which is unique to women, which is something unique to femininity. And the indigenous cultures across the world realize this femininity, and Hindu civilization especially understood this femininity, the importance of it in a woman's life, and how the process should be understood in a holistic, in a sacred manner, and not as a shameful or a sinful aspect. So that is the problem. The sinful association of menstruation is plays a big role in Christianity. And I was reading up research about how witchcraft was connected with menstruation in medieval Europe, which led to the burnings, witch burnings in the medieval Europe. So the point is, if you take up the image of Shiva and Shakti in Hindu texts like Itihasas and Puranas, the kind of dynamic they have with each other is a lesson to all of us. Shiva, which who represents the ideal, masculine ideal, is an ascetic. Though he is a householder, he is also one who is always performing tapasya. He is steady in his mind. He is rooted and he is strong in mind and body. He is strong in every sense of the word, and the one defining thing of his personality is his tapasya and austerity and his steadiness in the mind, one point concentration. The Shakti, on the other hand, is always, though in her aspect of Parvati, she is serving her husband, so to speak. I think I understand the service is a negative term in today's terminologies, today's vocabulary. But in the Hindu traditional understanding, it is service is a noble thing that a student does service to the teacher. Children does service to the elder, and we do service to our deities. So it is a noble thing. It is not a degradable thing. So in her aspect of Parvati, the Shakti takes care of the husband, serves him, and looks after him. But in the aspect of Kali, she is very independent. She is the active force. She is the force who is running around everywhere. She is the one who destroys the evil as Durga, as Kali. So the point is, it it actually shows a fundamental reality at a philosophical sense as well, between the Purusha and Prakriti. The Purusha is the conscious force, the Chit Shakti, the conscious force, the Satchidananda Swarupa, which which is without any activity, whereas Shakti is without chit but with activity. So there is a philosophical aspect to that, but there is also a transactional aspect, which is the ideal of grihastha dharma in Indian tradition, which is this, that while the female counterpart is considered as the manager, her role in a marriage is managing things. In Mahabharata, there is a beautiful episode wherein Yudhishthira was asked about something about how the palace and how this are run, and he did not even know the names of the people he had employed. All these details were with Draupadi. He said, "Ask Draupadi; she knows everything. She manages everything." So the managerial role is that of a wife, and kind of the burden of earning a livelihood and the burden of doing certain dharmic actions, and the protective aspect was that of the man. The man has a protective aspect, and the women has a nurturing aspect. So these roles were not just, today they in the feminist literatures, these are considered as oppressive roles. But if we remove that lens of bias, we will see that these roles were not, something frozen things. They are very general phenomenon which evolves with time and place, but the essence of it remains same, and it is based on our temperaments, our personalities, and there are the way a man reacts to situation, handles a situation, is different from a woman. So there is a gender difference, and the difference is not whitewashed. It is understood, and based on who is better in which kind of duties, those duties are given for them. That is how the Hindu system works. So the basically the point is this is missing in today's discourse. This is completely missing, and that is why there is a lot of confusion. There is confusion related to gender. There is confusion related to gender roles. There is a deep confusion related regarding what is the essence of femininity, what is the essence of masculinity, and this leads to lot of misunderstanding, lot of violence, lot of marital issues, a lot of social imbalance, so, etc.
You just mentioned Mahabharat, and right before the war, right before the chariots were being taken in the between the two armies, Arjun was asked by Krishna to take blessings of Durga, and he composes a beautiful prayer made up of 12 shloka, and then Durga appears and gives him blessings. Now this is a big warrior and asks none other than Krishna to worship Durga. And one of the things he says, you are the younger sister of Krishna, because in the Kamsa, in the episode where the eight children, so the seventh child was a girl, and that was Durga's appearance. And Krishna gives her names, different names he gives her. So this concept has existed from very long time, and whenever the monotheistic cultures, and they're coming in every part of the world, they're trying to defeat the native cultures by showing that uh, polytheism is bad, feministic deity worship is bad. Now all these things they are saying, but they do not understand the version of Shakti. You just mentioned Durga, you just mentioned Shiva and Parvati, the ultimate masculine figure, and also you said the homemaker, the women of the homemaker, because all the Pandavas kids were brought up by Draupadi, and Pandavas themselves were brought up by Kunti. And so it's this is all going on, and also we worship Saraswati as the goddess of learning, we worship Lakshmi as the goddess of wealth, we worship Durga as a goddess for fighting, okay, for wars. So so where do these Abrahamic concepts leave out? What happens? Do you know the history why it has come? And I'll just, for the readers benefit, I'll say, for the viewers benefit, the word hymn comes from hymen in Latin, which you all know what it means. So the lot of words we speak, but we do not know from where they are coming from. Uh, so, what is your view on the why the Western Abrahamic concepts undermine the feminine divinity?
I have not per se studied in deep the answer to this question per se, which I think which lies in the history of how the Abrahamic religion manifested. But I realized that I read somewhere that the Yahweh, which is the original the Hebrew name for God, I think he was supposed to have arisen in his study. That is what the scholars of history say, as one of the gods in that area, and their sect become predominant. However, I want to uh, shed light here on one important aspect about why these different deities are connected with. So, for example, Durga is especially Durga and her Chandika and Kali. These are especially associated with, for example, war. In history of India, the Kshatriyas, the Kshatriya kings, especially even the Rajputs and all of them, they used to do intense tapasya of the forms like Durga and Chandika, etc., especially before they went to war. And for example, in Mysore is a cultural city, and we have had you know, the royal rule for a long time here. Before in pre-British stage, the royal house and the royal family even today there they worship Chamundeshwari, which is again a form of Durga, a form of Chandika. Especially Chamunda is actually Kali itself. In Durga Saptashati, Kali is called as Chamunda because she kills Chanda and Munda. Similarly, you mentioned about Saraswati. See, the point is actually all the Vidyas, they are feminine. All the Vidyas are feminine. All the knowledge. That is why we need to understand the concept of Purusha, Prakriti, and Shiva, Shakti, and how it is understood in Hindu tradition. See, all manifestation, be it the whole world, the whole world has one. On one hand, is the Chit, which is the consciousness, Satchidananda Swarup Brahman, which is beyond form, and then the manifestation of Brahman, which is basically the Jagat is full of Shakti. And this Shakti, there are three major kinds of Shakti: Icha Shakti, Jnana Shakti, and Kriya Shakti. So these are again associated with different deities: Mahalakshmi, Mahakali, Mahasaraswati. So even when we consider the deities like Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all of them are associated with their own female counterparts, which are their Shaktis, which are their powers, as well as their wives. So the Shakti is power. Basically, it's a force, it's a power that accomplishes things. So if we want to accomplish something, we need to have Shakti, we need to gain Shakti. And this is the whole sadhana patha. And the reason the Arjuna is asked to invoke and take blessings of Durga, or even why Sri Rama had to invoke the blessings of Durga before the war with Ravana, or any of the Kshatriya kings have to do it, because Durga, Chandika, these are the forms of Shakti which are connected to war, which are connected to victory, which are connected to the destruction of adharma. So if you are fighting for the side of dharma, if you are doing a dharma yuddha, if you are fighting for the just cause, then you have to take the blessings of this deity, because they are the deities that govern the war. So this is how the understanding of the feminine divinity is there in Sanatan Dharma, and in polytheistic traditions as well. And this is what is missing in monotheism. And I think because this is missing in monotheism, it has resulted in a lot of violence, which are not, which is the kind of violence which are not present in these pre-Christian civilizations. See, all of humanity always engaged in one war or the other. Yes, but it is the monotheists expansionism that resulted in violence based on say religion, based on say faith, based on belief, and it also resulted in huge violence against women. This is what is missing in other civilizations. This is what is especially missing in Hindu civilization.
So now slowly leading back to our next series, also coming up series on the you've written a book on Chandika, and we'll cover that in the next section. You mentioned the name Chamunda. Now Chamunda is the word mentioned by in Bhagavad Puran, also the seventh child of Devaki and Vasudev. And when Kamsa throws in the wall, and then these names are given uh, by Krishna. And then you also mentioned the same thing repeated by Arjun also. Now the in for the West, when they hear these kind of stories, and the same thing they're spreading in India and other countries also, where a lot of places like they celebrate the old festivals, like uh, Esther was celebrated as Easter, which is a fertility goddess of fertility. Now they do celebrate that, but there is a demonization related to anything divinity in feminine. Like you also know the classical case of church not considering uh, women as even humans. I mean, they don't have soul. That was the point. So, so then what is the difference between the temple and a church? And then later on in the second part, we'll go into Chandika.
Yeah. So I think basically, very most important difference between temple and a church or any other place is, as I understand, church is basically a congregation place, a place of our prayers, wherein the priest, if I am wrong, you can correct me, wherein there are prayers held where the portions from the Bibles are read and taught to people, and all those things happen. So basically, it's a congregation place wherein the community come together. But a temple is not any of this. The primary purpose of a temple is not congregation. A primary purpose of a temple is not even prayer, I would say. Why do I go to a temple? Why do a practicing Hindu go to a temple? I go to a temple to see the deity. The term is see. The Sanskrit, it is called darshan, darshana. Even in Indian languages like Kannada and all, we use the same term. I go to temple to have a darshana of the deity, to see the deity. I am not going there to connect with other people of my community. Yes, Hindu temples are, especially the major important temples, they are all crowded. A temple like Tirupati is so crowded that some of us even do not want to go there because the crowd is so much. So we want to go there when the crowd is less. But that is because the Indian population is also such, and we all are very devoted people, many of us at least. Anyways, coming to the point, the purpose of a temple, I do not go to temple to communicate with people. It is not for congregation. There is no sermons in a temple. Temple in Sanskrit is called as Devalaya. Deva Alaya. Devalaya means Alaya means house and abode, and Deva means Devata or a deity. So a temple is a house and abode of the deity. So we go to a temple to have the darshana of the deity, to see the deity, to it may this seeing is will be accompanied by our prayers, our sharing of our um, whatever requests we have, or just seeing the deity without any request for the peace of mind for many number of reasons. Yes, it could be hundreds of auxiliary secondary reasons, but the primary reason is to have the darshana of the deity. That means that for a Hindu, the deity is present in the temple. So we need to understand the concept of Devata here. Brahman, which is the name for the ultimate reality, is without form. He is Nirguna, Nirakara, etc. He is without form, without attribute. He is unconditioned. He is without birth. He is eternal. Yes. But the same Brahman, by his own power of Maya, he manifests into hundreds and thousands of infinite number of forms for the sake of devotees, so that we can worship him. It is not possible to practice devotion to the formless, attributeless Brahman. We can only perform upasana to Brahman in his forms, the Saguna Brahman, the Brahman in the form with a name and a form. So this is what are Devatas. Devatas are manifestations of Brahman. Devatas at the very heart, they are all same. They are same in the sense they are different aspects of Brahman. But at the level of the Devata, each Devata is a distinct manifestation, is a distinct personality. It has a distinct power, it has a distinct Shakti, and it has a distinct Tattva, the essence. And it is this Devata which is this Devata is of course not a stone, not a pillar, not a material object. It is a energy, it is a Tattva which is pervades the universe. It is everywhere, but and it is archetypes forms as well, we can say. And these devatas are requested to manifest in a temple in the murti, that is consecrated in the temple. We do not worship the stone which is standing as a murti. It is not the stone, it is the divinity which has been consecrated, which has been made to come into that murti. So once the divinity has made to be made to take the murti as the body, it is no longer a stone, it is no longer a artifact. It is a divine icon, it is a pratima or a symbol, but more importantly, it is a murti. Murti, the very term means body, the very term means form. So, the murti that we go to have a darshan, it is inseparable from the devata which has been invited in the temple, which has been consecrated through the ritual called prana pratisthapana. The prana of the devata has been infused, have been established, have been seated into that murti. So that murti is Devata and Devata is that murti. As long as the consecration stands and the temple is, the rituals are taking place, the Devata is the murti, murti is Devata. Of course, Devata in a higher sense is much more than the Murti, of course. The Devata is the same Devata can be invited in the Murti in our homes as well, or in a Yagya or a Puja or a Homa, anywhere. The Devata is everywhere. But the Devata has been specially consecrated in that Murti. And it is to see that Murti we go, it is to communicate with that Murti, that Devata we go, and it is to have a divine, to establish, to strengthen the bond between a bhakta or a devotee and the Devata, the deity. We go to a temple. It is to establish this connection of bhakti. It is to strengthen this connection of bhakti, and it is also to, and most importantly, to have the darshana, because that darshana itself is punyakara. It gives us lot of punya or merits, karmic merits, dharmic merits. It gives us the the strength of mind. It gives the peace of the heart. So it's a very complicated process. But it is, the essence is that a temple is not a congregation place. A temple is not just a prayer hall. A temple is the house of the deity. The deity is really present there. It is not a matter of belief. It is not a matter of just see. Of course, anybody who is not a Hindu, anybody who is not a astika, who is not a devotee, may consider all this. They may reject all these issues as superstition. But his or her view makes no difference to a devotee, because a devotee's connection to the deity is direct. There is no intermediaries. See, the archaka of a temple who performs the puja, he is not an intermediary between the devotee and the deity. The purpose of the archaka is to ensure the well-being of the deity who is in the murti, is to ensure that the tattva, the essence, and the shakti, the power that is inhabiting in the murti is not compromised, is not violated, its sanctity is maintained. And the role of that archaka is also to perform the pujas and everything, this shodasha upachara puja and everything in a proper manner, so that the deity has come and is sitting at a place, so he has a personality, and that personality needs to be taken care of. So but there is, the archaka is not an intermediary. So this, the role of priesthood, so to speak, is different in Abrahamic religions and in Hindu dharma. So the primary purpose of a temple is, it is the house of the, it is the abode of the deity, abode of the devata, and we go to the temple to have a darshan of the devata, and not as a place of congregation.
Some of the other acharyas, they say we go to the mandir to show ourselves to the deity.
Yes, yes, definitely. I mean, my father-in-law used to say, in fun, how the temples are too much crowded, right? In some of the temples, we cannot even see the darshan, the murti, for more than 2 seconds or 5 seconds. So my father-in-law used to uh, crack this joke that it's okay, you could not see the murti, the devata. The devata has seen you, the deity has seen you, and that is enough. He knows that you have come, that is enough, or she knows you have come, that is enough. So I mean, see, this is a everyday conversation, and this understanding that we go to a temple to show ourselves to the devata and to see the devata for ourselves. So this is a direct connection between the jivas, the devotees, the bhakta, and the devata, the deity. Then this devata is the manifestation of the ultimate Brahman, the ultimate reality. And this is a very individualistic connection. My connection to my Ishta Devata, and here there is a concept of Ishta Devata, which is very important to Hindu Dharma, which is at the center of why, despite we having a very strong communities and sects like Vaishnava, Shaiva, Shakta, etc., there is no intolerance because of the concept of Ishta Devata. Ishta Devata means Ishta means that which is very desirable to me, that which is very close to my heart, my favorite. So each person is understood to have a one Ishta Devata, that is one deity towards whom that person is attracted to, towards whom that person may have had a very strong connection spanning many lives. Because this attraction comes from our purva janma karma, the kind of actions we did in our previous lives. So some people are naturally inclined towards Shiva, and they spend their days doing abhisheka to Shivlinga. They love doing this. But there are some others who are attracted to Krishna, and they love chanting Bhagavatam, doing the kirtana of Vishnu. So different people have a natural attraction, natural tendency to different deities. That is the concept of Ishtadevata, and that is very much central to Hindu Dharma.
So thank you so much. Today we covered many points, and do watch the second part in this series. Viewers who are watching it live right now, you do comment on it on YouTube video. Nithin Sridharji, it's a wonderful talking to you and getting your views. And so many people joined and they watched us live as well. So thank you all for watching, and keep
Thank
watching
you.
this series. We'll have 4-part series in this one. So please keep watching that, and do comment on YouTube video. Namaskar. Thank you.